guys, welcome back to Man Cave Collectibles. Coming at you today with another figure review. Today we've got a really exciting addition to the Neca TMNT cartoon line. We've got our Krang and Android body figure. This is a really highly anticipated figure from Neca, as we have really not gotten very many Android body figures ever. I believe Playmates did an original one, and I believe maybe there's a third-party one out there that goes for a pretty penny. But to finally get kind of an officially licensed release here in 2020, that is big deal for us TMNT collectors. So looking at this packaging, we've got some really cool promotional artwork here, very cartoonish on the front, Krang with the Android body. We got The Wrath of Krang written there, the TMNT logo. We got Leo and Michelangelo here getting ready to face off with that big Android body on the top, logoing. Now, one cool thing here, we do have the flap, which is what we've seen here on the Deluxe, like the Metalhead. It had kind of the same style box here. We can see Krang inside. He's very large, so really cool. The size, the scale, you know, matters to us a lot. I think he's going to scale really well with this line. We can see a lot, or pretty much most of what he comes with. Krang, the body, our baby shredder up there, all the accessories. So really cool packaging here. We've got a product shot here on the flap on the door of it. It does just have a little Velcro piece there that will keep it closed. As we're spinning on around, more of that artwork. And on the back, additional product images here. That is the original release of Krang in his Bubble Walker, which we'll do a comparison with. We see Krang using some of the accessories that he can use there on his hands. Our baby shredder, which is adorable, and some additional accessories. And then you've got the turtles here in their turtle blimp. So this is really cool artwork here that they put on the back. And then a little bit of a different write-up here, something kind of directed more at Krang, where most of the time the write-up is kind of just a generic write-up for most of the 2-packs. So our exclusives are going to get a little bit of a different write-up there, which you can pause that if you care to read. But I think that is pretty cool. And then spinning on around, a little bit more logoing, and back to the front. Let's go ahead and crack this guy out of his packaging and see what we got. All right, guys, so we got Krang out of his packaging and out on our review table. And just kind of as a disclaimer right out of the gate, this guy is very top heavy and he has itty bitty feet. So you know, once you get him posed, he's okay, as long as nothing's bumping the table or moving anything. I think he's fairly stable for now. So we'll see if we can make it through the accessories portion without him falling over. So let's jump right on into accessories. So the first thing, I don't know if we call this an accessory or a figure, but we got our baby shredder. So this was from an episode where he got turned into a baby, and just as you see here. Now I don't remember, you see here there's a little bit of brown on kind of his shoulder pads here, or his shoulder armor, and it's on both of them. So we'll have to see. I'll try to look up and see if that was accurate to the show. But anyway, this figure really looks phenomenal. It's articulation wise, you know, you've got just basically a hinge joint there at his waist. These arms are pretty much fully articulated. You can get them up to about right there. Down, you can get a full 360 on them. You know, a little bit of something I'm noticing here, and we'll talk about it more as we go. This kind of seems to be one of the more sloppy paint jobs that I've seen, you know, as far as the quality here. And, you know, you can see that there, the little chip that we just saw. You know, Shredder's okay outside of that one, but we'll talk about it a little more as we get into Krang. Now, Krang is also, you know, comes separate. Obviously, he's going to go inside the Android body, but he does have kind of a hollowed out body there. And he's articulated here in these arms, just as the original Krang was that we saw. You know, the original Krang's arms would pop off and you could put him kind of down into his little bubble walker. But Krang there. Now, I wasn't real sure about this and where this came from. So any of our TMNT aficionados, if you know what episode this was from and the significance, let me know. I've watched most of the cartoon Even here in my adult life, I've watched about the first 3 seasons here recently, and I don't remember this for some reason. I could just be missing it, but it's a cool accessory. You know, I love when they add accessories even if I don't know what they are. So drop in the comments if you know the significance of the necklace. I would like to know that, but it's a nice accessory nonetheless. We also got some schematics here for the Android body, as well as I want to say this thing was like called the Knockout something, or I can't remember right off the top of my head, but I remember this episode when he built this kind of spider looking robot that the turtles ended up taking down in the end. But we also got the schematics here for the Android body. So this is really cool. If you could find a way to display these somehow, just white on the back. They're just paper, so they would be easy to tear and bend or crease, so you want to be careful with that. But definitely a nice addition. Now, there was a episode where Shredder ended up calling Krang while he was in the shower. So he's got a shower here, a shower cap, as well as a towel that you can wrap around his body. So it's just kind of a felt, you know, I guess towel, you would call it. So you can kind of recreate that scene if that's something you want to do. This just sits right on the top of his head, and even has a hole there for his little antenna, which we got 2 of these to go down through and secure into the top of Krang's head. So pretty cool. You know, it's kind of a random, kind of one-off little, you know, point in time of the show that a lot of people may not even remember or think about, but NECA kind of come through with just kind of a neat little accessory there. Again, I can never really criticize accessories coming from companies, so I'm always happy about that. We got an axe for his hand. This is one of his weapons. It's painted well. It's got kind of a flat gray paint here on the blade, and then a little bit of blue accent kind of there at the edge to kind of show, you know, differentiate between this portion and where the actual blade, I guess, starts. Got a little blue here around the top, some darker gray here. Looks like a little darker gray molded plastic here. And then a peg that'll peg into his hand. His hand's unpegged, and you can peg the axe in. Same goes for kind of this buzz saw attachment that he will have here. This is articulated and it will spin. It will not spin freely, but it spins nonetheless. Very detailed. I like it a lot. You can see here a lot of different colors and accents, blue on the blades. Looks good. Got a peg there to peg into his hand. Looks nice. Now, we also have a couple blasters here. You can see here they're got a little red accent there in the barrels of those. Looks really nice. They're painted blue, grays, kind of the same color paints that we've seen there on the other accessories. 2 pegs. Those can peg into each hand. Obviously, being an Android body, he needs to have accessories. Now, the 2 of the coolest accessories that I think they provided here are the mace. I believe that's what you call these. You can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but these are actually metal chains here. So you can hear them there. That's actual metal. So I think that's really cool. I love when companies actually go the extra mile and do metal versus a plastic. Looks really, really nice. These are painted well. Got grays, dark grays. They look just like they would in the cartoon. So really good. They got a peg here on the end of the chain. That peg, just peg into the bottom of those wrists, just like the hands do. So it looks really, really nice. As we discussed, we got 2. I guess they were thinking ahead here. We got 2 antennas for the top of his head. They were probably thinking these are so small people are going to lose them, and they gave us 2. So well done, NECA. That's really thinking ahead from a company standpoint for your customers. You know we're going to lose one, so good looking out. As far as hands, you can see here we've got pretty much open hands, kind of straight out of the package. We also have some gripping hands here. So as far as what he would be gripping, I don't really know, because pretty much the accessories that he comes with are meant to pretty much go into the portholes of his wrist to attach to him. So he doesn't necessarily have something that he would grip. Now you could put like the schematics you know, the blueprints there. You can put those maybe in these hands, but he doesn't necessarily have a specific you know, weapon to hold in his hands there. And then the other pair of hands are, you know, semi-open hands. So you make it, you know, if you've got like one of the mutagen canisters, one of those may be able to fit into this hand, you know, from like one of the Turtle 2-packs or something. You make it end up working that out. You probably make it even pick up a turtle in some fashion using these hands if you wanted to pose it that way. But yeah, these hands look really good. They're just painted red, just like the ones that are on his body. So now, let's go ahead and we'll take a look at KRANG himself. I want to talk a little bit about some of the issues that I see here, as well as some of the good things that I see on this guy. So we'll go ahead and bring him in for a closer look. All right, so bringing KRANG in for a closer look here, let's take a look at the head. The head looks phenomenal. I think they did a really, really good job as far as recreating this head that we saw in the cartoon. While we've got his head here, we'll go ahead and take one of the antennas. You can see right there in the top of his head, there is a little porthole. This antenna just slides right down into that, and you can kind of feel it when it gets truly in there. You can kind of feel it kind of snap into place, I guess you could say. Now, you do see kind of the seam, but they did a good job there with the head of kind of making that look more like the lines that they do for the cartoon, you know, kind of these black lines that you see kind of all over the body and the head there. Just looks really, really good. I think they did a phenomenal job on this head sculpt. You can see that. Very, very reminiscent of that cartoon, pretty much identical. You know, as we move on down, you got the shoulder pads that we're used to. So here's one of our issues here. Now, I want to talk about the QC issues. This was the second one that I bought. The first one I bought, I ended up buying it, and as I got to thinking about it, I was saying, you know, I saw a lot of these online, and I saw a ton of QC issues with these as I was looking online. So I sent a message to the original person that I'd already purchased it for, already paid it for, and I said, what type of QC issues does this figure have? He said, there's quite a few. I said, well, if that's the case, and you're, you know, I appreciate your honesty, let's go ahead and cancel it, and I'm going to continue looking. So I found one that I thought was minimal QC issues. I even messaged the seller and said, hey, what does it look like? They said, it looks pretty good. They're minimal, but there are a few small ones. I said, well, everyone I've seen is pretty much got something like that. So we rolled with this guy. So anyways, you can see here we've got some paint issue here. We've got some paint issue here where it's just paint flaking. I mean, that's really the only word for it, is the paint is flaking off of the, you know, of the body. You can see here up in the joint. Now this is something we've seen from NECA before. Here in the joints, the paint is flaking off of that joint. This one is kind of a little bit more hidden up in there, but it's still there. If you bend the elbow, you're going to be able to kind of get rid of some of that. But as we're moving down here, we've got kind of these straps. They look good, outlined in black as we've seen. Kind of these outlines here on the chest looks nice. Inside KRANG's little area there, you can see there is a little circle which his body will fit right onto. We'll do that here in a second. I'll show you how that works. These joysticks are articulated, so they will move around. So you're kind of able to pose those in, you know, kind of in his arms there if you want to. Moving on down, got a little accent color in here. Looks good. The red's nice and crisp. Spinning on back around the back side. Kind of got that vent on the back of his body there. Nice paint work here on the yellow. Black lines look good. They all stayed in. The red here looks real nice and crisp. As we come on down the legs, got a little bit of issue here in my QC. Pretty much these joints here on the ankles have pretty much flaked off completely. There's pretty much no paint on these joints here for these ankles. So, you know, that's a little bit of an issue. I think that's something, again, we've seen it with these before, you know, and you know, when Metalhead came out, Metalhead was literally perfection. So I really thought with these deluxe figures that the kind of the extra attention to detail was going to be taken with the deluxe figures for sure, but it doesn't seem so with this guy so much. Again, I do love the figure and I'm very happy to have it. We got a little bit of an issue here on the paint. And then just kind of moving on down. Now you can see these feet are very, very small in comparison to his body. You know, he's very heavy right here in this area. You know, even though this is hollow, it's just a chunk of plastic, you know, here in the arms and the upper torso. So, you know, it definitely is going to need some type of probably support if you're going to put him up somewhere, you know, that's high off the ground and there's any chance of him falling. You're going to want to have him supported in some fashion so that he doesn't fall, break off the antenna up top, chip more paint off. You can just tell having this in hand that the paint chippage could continue. I don't know how to describe why I have that feeling, but I just feel like the paint chipping could continue if you were to manipulate this guy a whole lot, or him, you know, falling off of things, you know. So just something to think about. Now, as far as getting Krang in the body, it's pretty simple. The upper body here pops off just like that. You can see there, body just pops off. Can lay that to the side. All right, see if we can get this to stand for us. And then Krang, with his little porthole here, he's going to basically, you're just going to press him down. If you can kind of maneuver, it'd probably be best to go ahead and kind of maneuver those joysticks into his hands and then just press him down on just like that. So you can see it looks really, really nice. You can see there how that's going to fit in. Just looks really good. The hands fit perfectly around those joysticks. Look like he's, you know, doing the work, playing his little video game of an Android machine. And then the Android body, you can see we have clip ports here on the front, on each of the sides of his body, and then on the top kind of here of the lower body, you've got kind of those clips there. So you're just basically going to put the clips back into those little clip holes, and it's going to, you know, hold the body in place. So you don't have any issue of that falling off. You've really got to manipulate it off to get it, you know, to be able to break it free. So that is our Krang in the Android body. All right, so again, posability, limited. It's articulation. Let's talk about it. Looking at the head, you can see here, head down to there, head up to there. We can pretty much get a full range of motion there. We can get kind of the side to side a lot, probably more so than most of these figures that we've seen from NECA. As far as in the shoulders here, you can get them up to there without really any stress. You're going to be a little hindered as far as doing the full end over end 360 because of these shoulder pads here, so you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to be able to get it up to about right there. As far as in these elbows here, not quite 90, just a single joint. So not a lot of, again, your posability is limited here, but you know, it is an Android body. We never saw Krang do a lot of dynamic stuff. We got the swivel and side to side here on the wrist. Those will spin all the way around. As far as here in the upper body, no articulation there. As we talked about, this kind of clips in. It's going to hinder any type of articulation there. We do have a swivel here just below Krang's little window chair there. Okay, so you can swivel that out. We can get the legs out to there and swivel them slightly here on that ball peg or ball joint just inside the pants. Okay, we do have double jointed knees, but they are extremely tight. So I don't know if we're going to be able to get that knee up. Yeah, there we go. That's probably the most range of motion of anything on the body itself is in the knees. So we've got a double jointed knee there. And then down here in the ankles, we've got your typical ankle articulation forward back. We do have an ankle rocker that is very stiff, but it's there. Not a ton of ankle rock, but we do have some ankle rockage there. Okay, so that's articulation. Again, how dynamic do we really want our Krang? I'm not really needing a super dynamic Krang. I just need him to stand there and look good. Let's go ahead and we'll look at a few of the accessories being put on him. So what we want to do is pull those hands out, okay? And it's very simple. You're just going to pop in the additional accessory. So there you go. You can manipulate that around. It's going to spin however you want it when it's inside the wrist there. Take this one out. Let's go ahead and let's peg in my favorite accessory. We'll peg in the ball on chain. One thing you do want to be kind of mindful of is, for instance, the ball and chain here. You do have a metal chain, but you have a plastic peg and peg holder. So, you know, that's something you're going to want to be mindful of. You don't want to be too forceful with it. Take your time putting it in. You know, don't break off the clips that actually hold the chain onto the peg. So there you go. Looks really, really cool. I like the way that looks a whole lot. If you wanted to go with, you know, one of the other accessories here, we'll pop our axe out, put it to the side. Let's say Krang wanted to go the gun route. So there we go. He's got a gun on one arm. So you can see how that looks. Just phenomenal. Phenomenal. I love this right here. I may have to pose Krang with one of the ball and chains just for how cool that looks. All right, so let's go ahead. I'll show you here. We've got our baby shredder. He stands okay. Like I said, we're not going to really have any dynamic posing going on with that guy, as he is really not meant to be dynamically posed in any way. But he looks good. I think it's a great addition. It was something kind of iconic from the cartoon that occurred. That I can remember, it was one episode. You can correct me in the comments again. If there were multiple episodes, I can just remember one. And for some reason, I remember it being maybe in a swamp or something like that. I'll try to drop in the episode that occurred here on the screen. Let's go ahead and grab a few figures for size comparison, and then we'll wrap up our video. All right, guys, and as our first size comparison, let's start with kind of the key players here. So we've got Shredder, who was kind of the right-hand man of Krang. Obviously, they argued, fought a lot, but they were a team. That really is a nice size comparison there. The scale works phenomenal, I believe. I think that looks really, really nice. We got Leonardo over here to kind of give us a scale with the turtles. As you know, if you're a NECA collector, well, one thing we can always say about NECA is they really do a good job on scale. I've never had an issue with really any figure they've done and how they scale to other figures in the line. So very, very happy with that. Let's go ahead, we'll take our Leonardo figure out and we'll move in the first release of Krang in his little bubble walker there. So you can see how that looks. There are some paint differences. This one here is a little bit lighter pink, but they are different molds. I mean, that is just the fact of the matter. They are a completely different mold. You can see this Krang here is really molded specifically. He's smaller to fit into this bubble walker, where this one is just a larger Krang. So cool that they didn't just give a reissue there. You actually have a different figure that looks different. Even though this one is a little better sculpted as far as the eyes, the mouth, the teeth, I like this one better. I just think it looks more, reminds me more of the cartoon Krang, if we're going to, you know, be a cartoon line, which is what we are. Okay, we'll go ahead and move in a Triceraton Captain there, Captain Zerax. So you can see Krang's bigger than him. Krang is our largest figure that we've received in this line so far. The Triceratons are huge. They are big, bulky figures, but you can see he's bigger. But again, his issue is, look at the size of feet. You know, look at the feet on the Triceraton figure versus the feet on Krang. You know, big difference there. And then our final comparison here, I'll bring in one of my favorite figures of the year, which is our Metalhead figure. And even though, you know, there was a time when Metalhead was our biggest figure, he was just huge, or we thought he was huge, and now you can see kind of where he stacks up in comparison to KRANG, as well as even just a Triceraton that we just had there on the table. So just a phenomenal release here by NECA. Again, the QC issues do bother me, as I think retail for this figure is like $35. So it's a little more than your average 6-inch scale figure. You know, typically you're in that $20 to $24.99 price range in the 6-inch scale. So if we're going to pay another 15 bucks, I really would like to see some of these, what I still consider minor QC issues, I would like to see them done a little better, a little more attention to detail in the paintwork. That's the only thing I've ever had an issue with NECA. Their sculpt is top notch. Nobody on the market can really touch them as far as the sculpts that they're giving us, the characters that they're giving us. They do so much detail when it comes to that. And then they put out a figure that does have some of these paint QC issues. For example, you know, all the paint chippage and you know, flaking off in the joints, or even just on flat areas of the body, for instance, on the arm and here on the abdominal area. So that would be my only thing, is I think there's room for improvement there. But I think we can definitely pat NECA on the back for giving us these things they're giving us. We're all very grateful for that. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Hit that like button. It helps get this video shared out there for people to be able to see and find. That's how the YouTube analytics work. So I'm very grateful for that. Leave a comment down below on anything we talked about. Again, we had a couple accessories there that we need a little more detail on. If somebody has some detail on that, like the necklace, drop that in the comments below. We'd all like to hear that explanation of what that is. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing. Love to have you as part of the Man Cave Collectibles team. I hope you guys have a good rest of your week and a Merry Christmas. Until next time.